what I'm going to do is I'm going to start recording now on my end. You do it on your end, and we'll see how we come out. So go ahead. What would you want to talk?
Okay. Okay, yeah, I have started recording.
All right, I'm good too. Go ahead. What would you like to talk
Okay.
about?
So just first of all, I want to go over kind of some information for you about what this is for. We've talked about this in the chat already, but I just want to let you know again. So first, this isn't as applicable to you since if you're posting it as well, but if you'd like, this interview can be completely confidential. Your name can be changed in the paper, and I don't have to tell anyone your identity, either in my class.
Let me just be upfront with you. Let me just be upfront with you. I want to be exposed. I don't care about me, but I want this work to be exposed. This is my driving objective here, and
certainly. So do I have your permission then to use your name in
100%.
Okay, great. That's what I'm wondering here. So this assignment that I'm doing is looking at how people, and this is my own concept here that I'm coming up with. This isn't what I'm being asked to do, but I'm looking at how people in outsider scientific communities communicate, and how citizen science ideas spread, and how these communities function in the lives of their members and that kind of thing. So I'm looking at Mudfossils specifically as a case study. And if you're concerned that I might misrepresent your interview, I will give you a chance to review my findings before I turn this in. If that helps at all,
yeah, you seem like a reasonable, fair guy to me. I'm good with this. Go ahead. We're good.
Great. Yeah, and so oh, sorry, I got lost in my writing here. So I just first want to ask a couple kind of demographic information.
Okay.
Just what your age, occupation, and if you're an urban or rural resident.
Well, I live in the country, but I was a businessman. I'm 71 years old now. I've been doing
all right,
and that's about it there. Yeah.
So do you consider yourself retired?
I'm a researcher. I've been researching my whole life. I've been doing. It just turns me on. So I am retired. I'm self-sufficient. I don't need anybody to fund me or do anything for me. I was very successful in my businesses, and I'm just doing this to try to make reality out of all of the things that have been misconstrued in academia and now need to be reassessed and are not being allowed to be reassessed. Because I am in that community you're talking about that is not part of the academic community, and then you are out of it. It doesn't matter what you can show, what you can prove, absolutely no interest whatsoever.
Right, and so I'd like to get into that specifically, but first, to start things off, I'm wondering if you could just give a sort of overview, very quick definition of what mud fossils are. In the most sort of simplest terms.
Yeah, here's the very basic, simplest term. Mud fossils are soft tissue fossils. That soft tissue means your muscles and blood vessels and organs and all of that stuff was preserved. And here's how it happened. There was a giant flood. It's been recorded in every single culture. There was a huge flood and it drowned literally everything, and when it did, it was salt water, and that salt in the water preserves flesh, and having being them in that aqueous solution, they're volatile organic compounds, which is the gases and all of the there's crazy words for them, but anyway, they're the volatile things that explode tissue out when it's left out in the air. Now, when it's in the water, they go into solution, and the salt water preserves the fleshy parts, but actually, here's the crazy thing. The salt water invades bones and they don't find the bones. So, ends up, they were all preserved in this wet salt water, and then after it dried out, they dried out too, and they turned into stone, because the chemistry is 100% identical to what is in your body right now after you dry out. So that's the source of mud fossils, and I discovered them about eight years ago. I was pretty certain of what I had, and then I went into all the other things I did. I did all of the scientific work, and it's still refused. So that's where we're starting from. That's what mud fossils are.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah. So getting a little more into your process. I'm wondering what's your process of conducting research, and how do you see it as different from the process of mainstream science? Do you have any differences in the way that you make these discoveries?
Well, yes, I do. And the real thing is that I got 75,000 people on my YouTube channel, and they're interested people. This is exciting stuff when you take it and you really want to learn, and they want to learn. I mean, these people, I'm getting people that are so excited about literally learning, because I do everything. And I have a little board here I'm going to put up here of all the things that I do, and I'm going to read them off to you. You won't see it on your end, but I'll just read off to you all the things we do here. And here's the way I do it, London. Nobody here is a teacher. Everybody is a professor. Everybody comes to the table with something. Says, here's what I found, here's what I saw, and everybody discusses it, and we come to a conclusion of what it really probably is. I had one today that I'm going to have a video about it, but the guy thought he's found a carve or a giant standing up, and I think it might be a bone head, and I'm going to hold a bone head up here right now, and it almost looks like, you can see it looks like a face. There's the eyes and there's the mouth, and anyway, there's things that look like things, and you really have to know this stuff. But in order to know it, you have to understand chemistry, anatomy, the molecular biology, everything. So here's what we do. This is going to take a second to read off, but this is all the things we do, and we do them pretty good too. If anybody wants to confront anything that we have here at Mudfossils University, I would love it from the academic realm. Now, we do particle physics, atomic structure, chemical interactions, bonding, all that stuff, biomolecular chemistry, where the biology of how the molecules work in the body, which leads to the anatomy and how the anatomy is put together, and that leads to health and all the different tissues that are in our body, membranes, and how you keep them in good condition, and the bacteria that's in your body and how your body deals with it. And then it goes on to, we deal with death, decomposition, because that's what we're dealing with, is the conditions that these different things are found in creates different products. If a piece of flesh that was in a body of a creature, and they died and they were drowned and all that stuff happened, and then they just happened to be near a kidney, because the kidney's going to have salts in it. It's going to create a different situation. You're going to end up with salty stuff. And if it was near a stomach, you're going to end up with acid. It's going to eat into it. It's going to totally different chemistry. I mean, totally different result, but same chemistry in different formations. Let's go with that. Now.
Yeah. So Roger, I hate to interrupt you. I listened to your interview on I'm forgetting the name. It's After Midnight, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember, but okay, yeah.
And so I've heard you go over a lot of this information, and what I guess what I'm trying to get at, I want to let you finish, but what I'm trying to get at is specifically your process of conducting research, as far as, do you start with a hypothesis and then you find, evidence and fossils to
support. Oh yeah, I understand what you're asking.
Fossils and then look into that. Like I guess that's what I'm.
I see what you're asking for. And here's the higher.
Specifically, why do you think that mainstream science has not come to the same conclusions in their process?
Well, I could tell you that. Let's start with that. Why mainstream hasn't come to the same conclusion? They have come to the same conclusion. They just won't admit it. They will not confront it. They will not speak about it. They will not discuss it. And there is, when you see what there is, I'm holding a bone in my hand in front of this camera. And Professor Derek Briggs at Yale University says that's just a rock, has not a bone whatsoever. And I'm going to also hold up a petrified human lung right there that has been DNA certified, CAT scan, anatomist, same thing with Professor Briggs. No, that's nothing but a rock. They are afraid to confront it because they are so wrong for so long, and they are just not willing to admit. It's just a fact. Now, how I do my research is that I found these giant body parts, and I understand biology, anatomy. I do, like I said, this just turns me on, this stuff. I've done all my life. Now, when I discovered that the items were literal body parts from creatures, that I called Yale. I said, geez, you got to take a look at this. And Professor Briggs, oh, you need this, you need that, you need, all kinds of things done. I said, well, what do I need? And he told me, you're going to need a CAT scan. You're going to need an anatomist. You're going to need some chemistry. I did all that. And in addition to that, I did DNA. Refused to look at it. Harvard refuses to look at it. Every single one. Absolutely refuses. Not, it isn't right. No, we're not going to look at it. So what does that tell you? It tells me that they don't care. Now, what I did was when I realized all these things, and I realized that academia is literally a sham, absolutely devoid of any really interest of the truth. And I'm going to tell you that, it's a fact. I took a course at Johns Hopkins with Professor Steven Salzberg, who's supposed to be one of the top guys in DNA. And I was in the course with him. And I presented him with all my stuff. And I sent it to him with, I'm talking a lot of stuff. And within 8 minutes, I got back a response. Oh, nothing could be right. The DNA couldn't be right. They must have made a mistake. It just really, and it did not end well between him and me. They don't care. That's the bottom line. So what I have done is I have just put my videos up online, showing the evidence, confronting academia every day for years, not a single response, not one. And they won't do it. So we now have our own, I have a university, it's called Mudfossil University. There's 75,000 people there. And we are doing our own research, and we're starting to get people that really are getting very, very serious about this. Sooner or later, they'll start doing but it's as far as I'm concerned, academia, it's all over. If I was the students, I would do a class action lawsuit. They don't care.
Yeah, so let's I want to get to that as well, but I want to back up for a bit. You first discovered mudfossils in 2012, correct?
Correct.
So, had you made any similar discoveries in the past?
Had I made no? Well, here's what. No, it was an absolute stumbled on this. Now here what happened. I had a addition to my house. I had a business. I ran businesses, and I had a business in my house, and I was adding on for an office, and they dug a little foundation, not big, and that was many years ago. And they put a pile of dirt out in the way off to the side, out of view. I needed some rocks for some drainage. So I went over there and I just was picking up rocks, and I picked up this thing, and it was a gigantic fingertip. Gigantic. And I said, this is impossible. This is insane. And I looked at it, and of course I started looking at it, and I kept looking, and there's no other way to say it. That's what it was.
Right. And so what I was going to get at too was when it comes to academia, you hinted at this a bit earlier. What was your view of academia before making this discovery? Were you
I was on board
of it previously, or was it this experience that sort of changed your opinion?
I studied every day of my life. I studied everything. I just loved everything, and I loved all the science and all of the electronics. I did electronics. I did all kinds of things in that realm, and I understand the chemistry. I did chemistry. I did all of that stuff. So I understood exactly what they were saying, and it never made sense. Never made sense. And they don't even know how gravity works. Can you imagine? And it's a 5-year-old could understand this in 5 minutes. I can tell you in 2 minutes, if you tell me you don't understand gravity, I will fall on the floor. And here's how gravity works. The Earth is a positive, attractive source. It sucks electrons. We know this because electricity goes right to ground. Static collects on you, snap, right to ground. Electrons collect in the ionosphere, they turn into lightning, zip, right to ground. What does that tell you? The Earth is positive, attractive source. Gravity is magnetism. Everything else is attracted to Earth because it has electrons in it. Things that don't have electrons in it would not come to Earth. And guess what doesn't have electrons? Helium, hydrogen don't have enough electrons. They are pushed away from Earth. They're not just floating. They don't have enough negativeness to come to Earth.
Now, so when did you develop this this theory? Was this before 2012 or
well,
Well,
that theory has been developing for maybe 5 years. And when I started doing that, here's what happened. As soon as I realized it was nothing but a sham, because I took a course at University of Geneva, and I told them about the particle accelerator we have. You know about the particle accelerator?
Yes, sure.
Okay, you saw that. It accelerates. You can see the particle. You can see it accelerates. You can see it turns into plasma. You can see it makes the repulsion, the what they call interference patterns. You can see that it spins. It doesn't flap like a wave. And their response was, "Ooh, the Venturi is magical," and then that was it. And I said, "Well, I'd like to interact with you about it." No, they don't want to interact.
So I want to actually cover that a little bit more in just a second, but it did make me realize I forgot to ask you, what is your educational background? You don't have to go into specific locations if you don't want, but just as far as how much education you completed and that kind of thing.
Well, what I did, I worked with General Electric in their apparatus facilities. When I was just a kid. My father got me the job because he was with Allegheny Ludlam Steel Corporation, Special Alloys Division, and he got me a job when I was like 16. It's for a job that you shouldn't have until you're like an engineer, And
right.
and I went through that, rewinding motors and all that business. And then when I was in the Army, thank God I did that, because I went in the Army in 1968. I volunteered like an idiot to go in the Army the same week Tet Offensive started. And I went in the Army February '68, and I went in as a draftee. I wasn't drafted, but I volunteered. But I said, well, I'm going to go 2 years. That's how I got out of 2 years. And anyway, they put me into missiles and Nike Hercules missiles and all that, because I had something to offer. Anyway. And then when I got out of that, I did some actuarial evaluation work for Connecticut General Life Insurance Company. Then I went into electronics and I was a field engineer for Victor Business Products, and this was when it was changing over from mechanical into electronic, and I was, within a couple of months, I was in charge of everything. I was a field engineering manager, trying to make this stuff work when it hit the field. So I've been in this a long time now, and it just, everything just cascades from there. Because once you understand how electronics works, because that's bonding, it's every type of interaction is nothing more than molecules either attaching, smashing, pushing. It's magnetism, attraction, or repulsion. That's there's nothing else.
Yeah. So getting back to what we were talking about with academia. I mean, you've sort of said how you feel about academia. Do you want them to embrace mudfossils in the long run, or do you find that is the system completely broken in your view?
The system is disastrous, and it's destructive in every single way. The kids are being used, abused, and they have no say in this. They are told to be quiet and repeat what they say, and if they can repeat what they say, they're educated. Then they can go get a job. If they don't do it, no job. And that is what I see. And that is the only thing I see that happens in academia, is that the professors and the administrators are getting cushy little things going on. Everybody's waiting on them, and they're all like heroes to everybody, and they couldn't care less about the reality of what they say. No interest whatsoever in that reality. That's my word. I know I sound extremely harsh about this, and I feel extremely harsh. So I just want to be honest with you, but that's it.
No, that's fine. That's what I mean. This is what I'm asking. I guess what I'm trying to get at as well is, what do you see as that there's something that academia could do? What is something that could be done to fix these problems, or and if mudfossils were embraced by the scientific community, would your view of it change?
Well,
what would have to happen, I guess, is my question. All
right, well, I'm going to tell you what is going to happen. I can tell you exactly what is going to happen, is that Mudfossil University, my university, will be the #1 university in the world for truth, validity of facts, and honesty, and it'll be free. And they will be literally destroyed for their abuse of their power. That's going to be the bottom line. I'm telling you, you stepped in a bad place, brother. If you're going to put this up online, you're going to have a hard time with your friends.
That's fine. I mean, this is what I'm wondering. I guess what I'm after too is sort of specifics about what systemically what systemically within science and academia do you think would have to change in order for for it to be fixed? Like what would set your university apart beyond acceptance of mudfossils in the sort of way that research is conducted?
Well, research, see, that's a real problem, because once you establish a factual, like Einstein was very, very wrong, and you could see that in my light experiments. I don't know if you understand what Einstein said. He said light can't be accelerated, which is wrong. He said that light is a wave and a particle. I don't know exactly what he said at the end, but they were all going through all these different things. It's not. It's a particle. I can show you that. There's no question whatsoever. It spins. It doesn't flap. I can show you that. No question whatsoever. And those Higgs bosons, exactly what they're looking for. They're coming out of there. And I'm showing that reverse spinning particle that could be antimatter. No interest whatsoever. And in addition to that, coming through that Venturi, it's a passive. It takes no power whatsoever to do anything with that Venturi. It just happens that we 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 ended up getting Rod Warren. He just was doing experiments, and he started seeing these patterns. And when I saw him, I said, "Holy smokes, that is light being forced to crush itself and turn into Higgs patterns." And the bottom line on this is that if we could use heavy particles instead of light coming through that plasma, that Venturi turning into plasma, and charge separation, which I have charge separated. You can see it in the pictures. It's charge separation. The black stays on one side, the white ends up going to somewhere else, and then they come back together again. Now, at that point, when they... Wait a minute, let me just...
Sorry to interrupt you. You've lost me a little because like I said, I'm not really in science.
All right. Well, let me just cut to the chase. No. Wait. Hold on, London. This is very important. Let me just cut to the chase.
Okay.
If that particle accelerator works for heavy particles, that thing could possibly do cold fusion, which is the holy grail of power. Not a single bit of interest in looking at it.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
Right. No, I have heard of that. Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I guess what I'm wondering too. So let's say that academia, the scientific community, mainstream, came out and saying, we've discovered mud fossils. We've decided that this is real. Would you accept the mainstream science at that stage, or do you think that there is more that there is a bigger problem?
Well, you'd have to show me them looking into it. There is a bigger problem. Yeah, absolutely is a bigger problem. Here's the problem. It's a club.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to get to.
All right. It's a club. It's a club of people that, they fawn around other people, and you guys so smart, and we're going to just never say anything against them. It's like Einstein. You couldn't say anything against Einstein. They'd destroy you. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Mary Schweitzer, way back, I don't know, 10 years ago, I think she was before me, she found a T-Rex bone had DNA in it, and it wasn't that old, and she did the research. She was a PhD, right? And she was all this stuff. Now, she had a guy working for her that did the tests and everything, and it came out that it was like 3,000 years old. It wasn't like 60,000 years old or 60 million years old. So anyway, they wanted to show that research, and they did. They had it on 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes said, "Whoa, look at this." Well, guess what? He got fired. She is in Never Never Land forever. The last time I saw her on anywhere was the heading on the article said, "I don't care what they say about me." You cannot speak up. You can't speak up. They'll destroy you. Absolutely. Look at Velikovsky. Velikovsky right about everything. 100% right about his stuff. He spoke against Einstein. They destroyed him. Destroyed him. Everybody does against the same thing. This time they can't destroy me, because you could pick up any rock, and it has been breathing oxygen at one point in time. Every single thing there is was biology.
Awesome. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. That clarifies a lot.
Yeah, it means a lot, because everything changes. As soon as you say that, everything changes. As soon as you say there's giants, everything changes. As soon as you say there's dragons, then it really changes. Then you start looking at the Bible, and then you start looking at God and Jesus and all that stuff. And man, that's when it really turns them off. Because
let's think about that next, actually. So I've been wondering, have mud fossils informed your views on anything, and specifically talking about religion? Did you believe in things like giants and creationism, the Great Flood, before you discovered mud fossils, or was that something that you that mud fossils have informed your views on?
Well, like I say, I studied everything. I looked into all this stuff, but who the hell's going to believe there's a mile-tall giant guy or a dragon that's 1,000 miles long? Who is in their right mind going to believe that? And how can you walk up to somebody and say, "Yeah, let me show you this giant"? It just didn't work. But they're there. And it still doesn't work with a lot of people. I get a guy today. He's just fighting me. He said, it's impossible. I said, why is it impossible? He says, because they couldn't live. What are they going to eat? What are they going to do? I said, if it's there, how can you unsee it? How can your mind force you to unsee something? Well, what happened was, when I started to talk to Derek Briggs and all these other guys, they started talking to me in the beginning. They would answer the phone, I'd talk, and then finally they would hang up on me. But it became, oh, you must be a creationist. I said, what's that got to do with it? And he said, oh, well, you people, you're all just crazy people, that type of thing, really, literally. And then it ended up, I think they started Flat Earth to go against me, because I don't remember anything about Flat Earth 8 years ago. I never heard of Flat Earth people. And now all of a sudden they're all over the place. And they said, if you believe in this stuff, you must be a Flat Earth person. I said, what are you talking about, Flat Earth? What are you, insane? And sure enough, they sicked them on me and they destroyed me with them. Because I had to shut down 2 different channels on YouTube, and I had to shut down channels on Facebook, because it was just a continuous fight about the Earth being flat. I just couldn't believe it. And then they wanted to link all my work to a flat Earth. I said, this is insanity. So I blocked them. I cannot take it. I don't want to do that, but that's all they're interested in is, and I don't know if they're real people or they're people that are just attacking me to try to make my work look silly. But I just blocked them anyway. So, and I don't want to hurt them. I wish they just not talk about that around me, if that's their opinion. Anyway,
sure,
go ahead.
That actually leads me to another question, which was, what are your interactions like with other citizen science groups? I mean, obviously you just kind of answered this question, but go into more detail about the conflicts you've had with the Flat Earth, or are there any other? I know that there's a lot of overlap with things like QAnon. Is that do you ever? How do you see those other citizen science groups?
I think they're fabulous. Most of them are doing really good work, But here's my real issue, is that I do chemistry. I do the deep stuff. I do the real stuff where there's no way you can stop and say that it's not right and it's not real. And they're not. I mean, we found another species. Did you see the one, the no toes?
I don't think I did, no.
All right, well, we have found another hominid species that doesn't have tendons. It has springs in its feet. And that is refused. They won't look at that. And Brian Forrester, who is now being touted, I see him on TV frequently now, he, and I know Brian to some degree. I've interacted with him, but he obviously doesn't want to get involved with me because I am on such far out edge. You can't get any further out than I am. So it's scary to everybody. And if I had a business or I cared about anybody's feeling about me, I wouldn't be doing this, because it's a continuous confrontation with people that think because they went to college and somebody told them what geology was like and what anatomy was like and what archaeology was, then they know everything. And I should just go read their books. And that's what, I'm going to tell you something. Harvard told me that. I talked to the guy at Harvard, and I showed him all the stuff. And at the end of the thing, it went on for a long time. And he just would not relent, and I would not relent. And at the end, I said, you're just wrong, my friend. You are just wrong. And he said, well, everything you said makes sense. But if you read the books I read, you wouldn't be saying that. I'm telling you, it's absolutely phenomenal. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm wondering too about, you mentioned that flat Earth groups tend to, or you have conflicts with them, let's say. Are there members or
wait, you're
even flat Earth, and what happens when they try to talk about flat Earth?
That's all they're interested in, is that Earth is flat. It has nothing to do with the mud fossils. The first thing they say is, oh, I love your work. How come you're so stupid you don't understand the Earth is flat? And then it just goes on and on and on. It's just nothing but an argumentative, you know. And then you say, well, what about the space station? Oh, there's no space station. So what about rockets? There's no rockets. What about satellites? There's no satellites. They don't. I mean, it's insanity, absolute total insanity. And I'm done with it. So they go.
Okay. And which leads me to another question I had, which was, how do you manage your online presence? How do you manage the group? You said you mentioned that just now when you have people trying to talk about flat Earth, they go. Do you mean like you block them? What do you do?
Yeah, I block them. Well,
here's or skeptics or that kind of thing in your group.
Well, what I had to do is on my groups, I don't allow anybody to post. That's all they post about. So I put no posts, and I just put my own posts up there, my own research, and as soon as they start with that, they go. I'm not going to have it. It's just nothing. It's a crusade to make good research look like insanity, and I'm not going to have it around me. If they like that, there's a million other people doing flat Earth. I mean, all that other stuff, and talking about flat Earth. Let them go there.
Now, what about if it's someone who's a skeptic, let's say, and who's trying to disprove your theories? How do you handle that?
Disprove what?
Say, if there's someone disprove MudFossils, let's say, if someone.
Oh, I'm 100%.
Argue against the existence of MudFossils. How do you handle it?
Oh, I love it. I ask them, what is it that first of all, they rarely watch the video, and the first things they do is say, this guy's insane. I say, what? Then I'll try to say, what time on the video, and what is your problem? What's the problem with what I'm saying? And then they'll just go on and on. They never will pinpoint what they're talking about. Now, I show the chemistry, I show the anatomy, I show everything. I mean, nobody can say anything about it. There's never been a word said that I can't respond to with physical, verifiable evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Not one, ever.
And then talking on the other hand about people that do agree and are I guess what you might call MudFossil researchers within the group. What do you see their role as? What do they contribute?
They are like eyes and ears all over the world. All over the world. I've got Tyson out on the West Coast. Scott Wiles was doing this. Greg Morrison. I've got people out everywhere around the world. And I'm telling you some very, very good stuff. I'm going to just call up Tyson's channel here. He has the biggest. It's absolutely amazing.
Now, while you're doing that, I was going to ask as well, do you ever disagree with any of your researchers or members?
All the time. Well, obviously.
And how do you handle that? What goes on with an average, issue that you disagree with someone over?
Well, I show them here. I just explain to them. Here's what I see, and here's what they see. And then we'll go right into the anatomy books. Now, Tyson has the same anatomy books that I have. He's got all the same stuff. And
we stopped at another.
Here, I'm going to show on my. He's got a gigantic membrane on his screen right now. Can you see that?
Yeah.
You see that? That is a membrane.
Isn't this cool? Oh, this is just lava.
Look at that. You see that hole there up above?
No, this ain't lava. This ain't even the same material as lava. This is more sandstone-y.
Look, you see that hole right there?
Yeah.
That's in you. They call that a tight junction. That's where you allow nutrients into your body.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yes, it is. Well, it's more than fascinating. This is our history, our ancient past. And this stuff is being refused because it's so deep and so, I mean, you know that is, if that's a creature, and it is. And and you've seen the dragons. I don't know. Right? You've seen a dragon.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to just call up the.
Can I ask you? Do you find that having all these other people that agree with you on this? Do you find, is there sort of a sense of community and camaraderie that comes with that?
Oh, certainly. I am. Let me tell you something. I went for at least 4 or 5 years being an absolute moron to everybody that I knew, my family and everyone, and not a single person on the face of this planet would. They looked at me like I was just an idiot, and I mean, and it made me upset. It jaded me. I'm going to tell you that right now, and it just kept me driving me to keep more and more like this gigantic fish. You see that, right? You see a fish? Mm-hmm. Now, what is that fish doing? He's right over the top of Atlantis. You see Atlantis right there? Now, I showed this for years. That's Atlantis. It's identical to what Plato says. It's right outside the Straits, which is right here, which they said it was outside the Straits. They never said the Straits of Hercules. They said it was on the other side of the Straits, and the boats are still in the docks. You see those slips there? Anybody that understands docks and marinas understands that this is what you got right here. This is all shipping coming in here. And some of these things might still be in the boat slips. You see it right here? Mm-hmm. I don't know what that is. There might be boats. They might not. This might be a building. These all might be boats. But these are all boat slips. That's no question. And on the other side, these are all the structures where the warehouses were, where they unloaded the stuff. And then they brought it in through here, through these other channels, in to the inner rings. I mean, that didn't just happen like that. This is insanity not to understand this. And I found all kinds of things down here. All of this stuff was here, stadia and all this business. And this washed out into the Atlantic right here. And that was, Plato said it was 9,100 years before here, and that puts it at about 12,500, somewhere around here ago. And that was when the ocean drained. And I believe it was the same time these two guys were fighting. This fish was being killed by that dragon. And that is a dragon, and he spit some of the nastiest stuff I've ever seen on top of that fish.
Can I ask you, you mentioned that you've had some issues with mud fossils with your relatives and that kind of thing. How has this all sort of affected your personal life? Your jobs, your relationships, relatives, all that? What has been the sort of effect?
Well, I don't really have much to do with anybody anymore, to be perfectly honest with you. It's been years since I've really seen or done anything with anybody. That's why I do so much research. I tell you, I don't mind it. I'm done with it. It's, you can only take so much, and then you get to a point where you say, screw them. Let them go their own way, and they take everything in this as an insult. And I've done this. I did the research that, I had to actually research the human mind. And here's what I came up with. This is going to be good for you. You're going to like this.
Okay.
All right. Tyson and I were talking the other day, and he's very upset because he's come up with some of the most unbelievable stuff. You saw that tendon. Well, you can't even imagine the stuff he's found. Anyway, he's getting the same kind of stuff. So I said, Tyson, I went through this, man. I did everything. I know exactly how you feel. I got so upset, and I really did. And I was in despair, man. So when I finally decided I got to find out why the human mind works the way it does when it receives new information like this. And here's how, to cut to the bottom line, is when you have serious beliefs or opinions or things that you think make you feel pretty comfortable about what you're seeing, and you've read all the books, and you've done all the work that they told you to do to tell you what you were seeing was going to be, you could go around and tell everybody you're smart. Well, then I come along and I say, you know what, all that stuff you did was for nothing because it was wrong. Now you got to unlearn it to learn what really is out there. And that just does not float well. Now, what happens, and I understand it now fully, because of the chemistry, because of everything, because of biology, the biomolecular stuff. Excuse me. When you get assaulted, somebody comes up and slaps you in the face or calls you something just obscene right in front of people, just nasty like crazy, you immediately, within a microsecond, your body starts to shake, your breathing changes, your pulse, everything happens. And it's a chemical reaction in your body. It's literally an insult, assault, take it however you want to put it that way. And there are varying degrees that people will react. And some of them react literally violently. And some of them will react just and just walk away, and some of them will, but once you get in that mode, that your mind says, I'm being assaulted, your body has, your mouth is going to do what it does. You're not going to, your face is going to look like you've been attacked, your body position will change, your shoulders will go back, you'll clench up. Everything's going to change, and you cannot change your response to an assault. You're going to say, "Oh yeah, let's all listen to this guy," when you feel like the guy just slapped you in the face. I'm not going to. It doesn't work. So I'm having I have a real hard time now. I just say, "To hell with everybody." I'm just going to put it up there and let them see it if they want to see it. If they don't want to see it, have a nice day. And I'm just assaulting.
Yes, that's exactly what my next question was going to be. What do you find to be the most effective way to spread this information?
Well,
and do you try to spread it in person? Or primarily online?
I never go anywhere, and I'm never going to go anywhere, and I'm never going to do anything other than what I'm doing. I'm just going to make videos and show them, and if somebody wants to look at them, that's good. And I'm going to continue to assault the ones that have taken the fiduciary failures, the failures that were put in charge of people's of their education, so that they could get a good job, so that they could get ahead, so they would know everything that was right. And these people will not confront what they know is wrong. So to me, that's gross fiduciary failure. That to me is a legal issue. And if I was paying somebody to teach me something they knew was wrong, I wouldn't pay them. I'd want my money back. And they should know it. And wait a minute. Now, I want to make one more statement. And if their job is to know what's right and know what's wrong, and they've been presented with something that is literally in their realm, it's all validated. It's all been tested. And if they can't say, no, it's not right, other than just say, no, don't bring it here, I don't want to talk to you, then to me, that's a legal issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I guess to clarify, your position is that academics, at least within the scientific community, are aware of mud fossils, and the metaphor you used about assaulting someone with all of this information causes a fight or flight response. That applies more to the general public.
No. That applies to the academics. That applies to the academics almost exclusively. But although anybody that feels confident in their education, let me put it that way. If you feel confident in the things that you read, and no, who the hell are you? Who are you to tell me that? I read that in a book that Professor Briggs from Yale wrote, or Professor Salzberg, his special talent in DNA, he wrote this stuff. He knows what he's doing. Who are you? Well, I'm a guy with a specimen in my hand that has DNA certifications, that has CAT scans, that has an anatomist, has chemistry. I recreated the process and made my own mud fossils. They refuse to examine them. To me, it's fraud. It's fraud.
But of course, as far as, you know, spreading this information, and you know, teaching people about it, your YouTube channel is not the only way that you do that, though. You do have a Facebook page and the Facebook group, you also talked about one of your videos that there's even a museum starting. So how do you see those things as functioning?
Hopefully everything will grow. I am not going to be a part of those kind of things. All I want to do is to get it started and get people like Tyson and then John Slutton. He's down in the Amazon, and he's down with the people, the Shipibo, and you know, the indigenous people down there. They understand these things. They are very excited. Now he ran into a couple of things. I mean, he's down in the middle of the Amazon. He's got to get projectors and things down there. He's setting up a classroom. It's not going to be like any big society or university or anything. It's just going to be, they're going to try to understand their history based on the stuff that's here. It's a reality. It's insanity. Absolute lunacy that we are learning. You might as well go to Disneyland for your education. I'm telling you, you might as well go to Disneyland. You'd be far greater ahead and have a lot more fun.
No, that's definitely true. Do you think there are any issues with the way that citizen science information is spread at the moment?
It's a disaster.
We're mentioning flat Earth and stuff. Do you think that there's a danger for, I don't know, are there any issues with the way that it works currently?
It's a disaster. It's a disaster. They got all these flat Earth people. Anything they see, they say, "Oh, look at this!" It really is nonsense at this point, because the only place you can go for credibility is Mudfossil University. Everything you're going to see that I do, I will support and I will stand behind, and I will show. And I'm going to show you something right now. Where do you see this? You didn't see the no-toes, huh? This is going to take a second to down. I got 10,000 million.
Well, while you're finding that, I guess one of the things I was asking too is, you know, do you think, because of course some of your followers, you said you don't necessarily agree with everything, that, you know, if they, for instance, believe in flat Earth. So do you think that there is a risk of people spreading this research, that they'll spread, you know, bad information or anything like that just because of the nature of the internet?
Well, here's the serious concern, is that they tried to attach my work to this flat Earth business, and then all of a sudden they just started assaulting my real work and destroyed everything I did. So that's just water over a dam. Now, and yes, they are seeing all kinds of things and making all kinds of crazy statements. So there's no consistency whatsoever outside of Mudfossil University. The rest is just, you know, some of the stuff is good. But you see this foot? Look at this. This is a leg coming down. That's the foot. And you see what's on here? These are springs. And she has found a ton of this stuff. And she went out in 15 minutes and found this after seeing one of my videos.
You know, you mentioned actually a couple times things like springs or the string in place of a tendon.
Yeah.
What does that? What's the implications of that?
It was somebody constructed these. These were built. You see this one up at the top here?
So these were like robots?
They were cyborgs, which is partially built and partially biology. You see this one at the top right here? Mm-hmm. That one right there. You see that? Mm-hmm. It looks like a wing nut to me. It's and this should and what these have on the bottom is a huge rubber pad that's bolted right on here, and it's part of the anatomy. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. Watch this. All right, this was Mayan. This is what the no toes look like, and that's where the vein goes and stuff. But the toes are in here, but they're inside. Now you see how that bottom is broken open? That would be just a bubble like that. See how it's missing on the bottom? All right. Now, mine are like perfect. Hers were all eroded, which is nice because you see this one here? These are the gigantic feet. These are from giants. But that's the little heel bone. See it? And that's the foot. And these are the rubber pads. You see these little holes all over this?
Yeah.
They're rubber pads. It's the same thing up here.
Interesting.
And now if you go, where do you see this one? All right, here's Tish's feet. She's got these here. But when they erode to this right here. Now look at this carefully. That's a spring, that's a spring. The toes come out here. They step on the toes, this folds back, that pulls in. This is the strap, the same strap as this right here. See it? That strap? That's the stirrup, the saddle, where your bone comes down and sits on that saddle for your leg. To, you know, right up here. See it? That's the saddle. Now, you see that tendon? That's the tendon. It snapped off. See, that's the edge of the tendon. It went right up to that bone. Same thing this did. That's the foot, and it's in the inside of these. She's got other ones you can see right inside them, and you can see there. I mean, it's what it is.
Do you have MudFossils informed you or the way that you see anything else? Like, how do you see MudFossils working with things like religion and politics? What are the implications with on those things?
Well, I can tell you right now, it's I'm looking for Jesus. I can tell you that. For everything that I have seen, I was never religious at all. Really, I was never. You know, I'm a scientific guy. I want to see something. But when I see what I have seen, and because we went back through the text, I am surrounded, literally surrounded by some of the most scholarly biblical people, because academia doesn't have these kind of people. They don't have people that do this kind of research.
So, just to clarify, were you you weren't religious? You didn't necessarily believe in young Earth or giants or that kind, or the flood? Did you believe in those things before you discovered the MudFossils in 2012?
No.
Or it sounds like you didn't believe in any of that stuff.
No, I believed in what you could present to me and show me, and now I can show everything that I say. So I'm a scientist. I like hard facts. And
what part did your followers play in informing those views? Did you did you introduce the concept of biblical giants and the flood and that kind of thing into the research, or was talking with people on Facebook and all that you started to discover those things?
No, it was. I study the material, and then I say, how did this happen? And I came to I know exactly how it happened. There's no questions how it happened. And then when I realized that this was all written about, and in very, very serious detail, I mean real serious detail, in not just the Bible, we read all of the texts. I mean, I read Herodotus, Hesiod, Ovid, Plato, all of them. And Jody is reading a lot of the mystical texts that were written about energy and alchemy and all that kind of stuff. And
sorry, who is Jody?
Jody is Jody. I work with a lot. She just wanted to find truth, and she saw some stuff I was doing. She hooked up with me, and she just started asking a lot of good questions and having a lot of good
Okay, so this is someone online that you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. We're all
Okay.
yeah, we're all online. Nobody's. I've never met any of these people in person. They send me things. They say, "What do you think about this?" Here I'm gonna show you something right now. You want to see what I got today?
Sure.
All right, this was. Look at this. They won't let me send this thing because it has Bible in it. I'm trying to send something to Jody. See, Jody? Your message could not be shared because the link goes against our community standards. It's about something in the Bible. I don't know, man. I don't know anymore. See, people send me all this stuff right now. You see, right away, just got this. What do you think about these different colors? We're working with light and stuff. I get this all day long, hundreds of them. And this morning I got this one. It was really good. I can't remember where I got it from, but here it is right here. You see this?
Okay.
Here it is. This guy sends somebody who, I don't know where it came from, but he said, well, take a look at this. And it looks like a giant face, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at it and I said, well, this guy's arm could be holding like a blanket around this way. And that looks like another arm holding a blanket around this way. It's pretty interesting. But then there's a lot of biology that goes with this. This is where I was talking about that bonehead. I held the bonehead up right next to the guy's face, and it almost looks like the same thing. And that might have eroded off a bone. And what I'm getting at is this: you got to go deep into chemistry. But it was a good video.
Yeah. So, what are the bigger implications for mud fossils? Do they have any implications on politics or the way we look at the world? What are the kind of bigger philosophical meanings?
Well, all right, I can tell you right away how I feel about it.
Go ahead.
I am looking for eternity right now, my friend. I believe now, from all the research I have done, you have to get down to light and the molecules and the atoms, because that's where divinity is. That's where God is in the particles. That's where Jesus is, a light person. He's a light being. All of these were. And I don't know if you saw the ones that I showed that were like giants that were petrified by Medusa. Did you see that?
I don't think so.
Well, I'm going to show it to you now because this is going to knock your socks off, brother. Let me, I always have trouble finding this thing. Hold on, let me get back here. Shit. I got to get down to Colossus. Here we go. All right. You see that? There is many of these around the world that are, this is a petrified guy, and this happened, Medusa was able to do this. Instantly caused the molecules to petrify. You see that leg? You see that? That's tendon. This is the blood. That's the blood coming out. The pharaohs are inside of the statues as well. This guy was petrified in place, and there is a ton of them. It's not just him. They're all over the place. This one here. That guy right there, same thing. That's another giant. He's strangling a dragon. And that's not, somebody didn't make it. That's, they attributed to all these people years ago. That's actual creature. That guy was breathing oxygen at one point. That's kaolin clays in his face. That's the kind of stuff that turns into kaolin. I found his tendons, everything.
So, so what does this mean for your perspective on the world?
Well, my perspective on the world now is that I have to think that everything, there's an eternity, that, they talk about it, and then you're either going to get to a good place or a bad place. And when you start reading the text that we've been reading, I mean, it gets in extreme detail how you have to do this, and what you're gonna be confronted with, and there'll be days that they're just terrible darkness that people just won't. They're blind, and it's exactly what it is. Every word that was written is just absolutely word for word is coming true, word for word.
You mentioned in your interview that I listened to that this has big implications for medicine. Has it changed the way that you go to the doctor or do medicine?
Everyone should change the way they look at doctors. The reason for that is that doctors do not understand digestion. They don't understand it. What the digestion in your body is your health. Once that's a problem,
for the sake of because I do have to wrap up here soon, unfortunately. And I did hear this. Just for the sake of avoiding redundancy, I'm wondering, sort of in practical terms, what does this mean for the way that you eat or go to the doctor, or has it changed anything in that regard in terms of what you do in the real world, or
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I'm very careful about bacteria now. I want to make sure I get bacteria in my body, which is the different, probiotics, because those are the things that digest your food. It's as simple as that. They're the things that digest your food, create your enzymes, slime up the walls of your intestines and everything, so you don't get invaded. It's as simple as that. And once you're invaded, you are screwed. And if they start feeding you with a whole bunch of drugs to try to stop these things, they cause all kinds of other problems. And kids that have autism, I have a group now with people that have autism. They have kids that have autism, and it's actually helping them just by taking probiotics, a little bit of organic sulfur, and some silica water. That's all they've been doing. But they have to do it every single day, because if something been disrupted the bacteria that lives in the membranes, and once they're gone, you're in trouble, because then the enzymes don't get created, the slime doesn't get created, the bacteria don't eat the food, so that they poop the little bits and pieces that your body can pick up on and deliver, and so it's a mess once you cause your gut to be a problem.
Now, yeah. Real quick, just to. I had sort of I'm looking for just sort of a list or that kind of thing. You mentioned before that flat Earth theory you don't see as being, provable, and maybe even disruptive. But it seems like there's other citizen science movements that you do agree with. What are some that you disagree with and some that you agree with? Yeah.
Well, the only thing I agree with is things that they have evidence for. Brian Forrester's work is it's unimpeachable. It's just the same as mine. It's unimpeachable, and that's the kind of work that I look for. Now, you tell me to stop believing that there's a space station, all that stuff. I mean, come on. Now, the hollow Earth, I believe the Earth is likely hollow. Yes, absolutely. There's been stories about this forever. And Admiral Byrd, when he came back from the Antarctica, he told people that if we are attacked, if we are attacked by airships, it will likely be from the South Pole. And he was down there, and he said he was in the South Pole, inside the hollow Earth. And I saw an actual video of him over the South Pole where they were actually seeing woolly mammoths, and I didn't see any of that stuff, but I could see there was trees and forests and everything right at supposedly dead center at the bottom of the South Pole. And it only makes sense because we are a spinning generator spinning through space. We create these magnetic fields, and the reason is because our electrons in our outer atmosphere scrub the electrons in the space, creating a generator effect, which creates a flow of electricity through our Earth from the South Pole to the North Pole, back out and around again.
Right, and so when you say Brian Forrester, he's talking about the ancient aliens theory. Is that right?
Correct.
So that you would also agree with?
Oh, absolutely. Well, have you ever read the clay tablets?
I have not. I've heard of them.
All right. Well. Let me put it this way. That's the Sumerian texts. We've read everything. We read them all, and and then when you look at Velikovsky, absolutely stunning what he came up with, and it is all written stuff that he was very upset that we just refuse to look at what was written as our history, and it said that Venus came into our solar system out of Jupiter 3,500 years ago. It wasn't here 3,500 years, didn't exist. 3,500 years ago, it was recorded as a fiery comet born from Jupiter. And then Velikovsky did all the calculations. He said that thing's going to be 800 degrees. It's going to be this, and Einstein said, oh no, it's going to be the same thing as Earth. It's just a sister planet to Earth, like hell. It's 900 degrees. It's spinning backwards. Velikovsky had 60 things about it correct. Einstein had every single one of them wrong.
Yeah. So I mean that pretty much is everything I've been wondering. I guess just to follow up on that, do you think any of these, Brian Forrester or Hollow Earth theorists, why do you think that they haven't necessarily discovered mud fossils as well? What's the, do you disagree with them on anything?
No, they have.
They ever tried to refute mud fossils? How does that interaction happen?
No, they're not refuting. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing that they're coming on board now. I just saw a video of literally my same stuff of some big shot. I forget who it was now, but doing it, saying that here's how things are going down here with our solar system, and here's how things are in the Earth. Almost word for word the things I was saying. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do a video about that because it was so close to what I am saying. It was very, very good.
Okay, and finally, so you've said that because of this, it's been difficult to it's been kind of tough for your personal life in certain ways. It's been a big sacrifice, but on the other hand, you've picked up a lot of community online and all of that. Do you think that it's been worth it? Do you think that this has made your life better?
Absolutely. Anytime you walk away from truth, you're a moron. You're a fool. You're a wasted human life, as far as I'm concerned. If you can't confront what is in front of you that is reality, then you shouldn't even be breathing oxygen. It's ridiculous to say I'd rather live in a fantasy world because it's just too much for me to take. Now, if that's I don't care. But if you're teaching people that this is what you should believe and pay me $30,000, and then I'll say everybody he believes what I told him to believe, and that means he's a smart guy. That doesn't work in my world. Mm-hmm. That's where I come, and I know I've been abrasive, but if you were in my shoes, you would feel abraded.
I understand, absolutely.
And let me make one more point.
My last question was: is there anything else that you haven't brought up yet? So, please. Anything else that you want to let me know now?
Well, I just want to say, it's changing. This is the kind of thing that people are afraid. They really don't. People are afraid to speak because they know the reactions they're going to get, and they do, and they get a reaction of, oh, come on. Now, either you confront that back, or you shrink away from it. So most people will shrink away from a crowd going against them. But now the crowd is starting to turn. And as soon as the crowd is the other way, everybody's going to go that way. It's just the way it works. It's a humanity. You know, I never did care much for crowds, you know, and I was always a confronter. You know, I was always the kid with my hand up saying, "What do you mean by that?" And, you know, but it worked for me because you know, as soon as you just say, okay, this guy told me what to say, that means I'm smart. To me, that means you just became an idiot. So I suppose I can leave it at that.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time and answering my questions. Do you mind if I ask some follow-up questions over Facebook Messenger if I need clarification on anything?
Oh, no, absolutely. I want you to see you go forward with this. I'd love to see some response from your community there. You know, I know you're in the academic arena, and I just fear for your existence. That's all.
Certainly, I'll let you know how it turns out.
Yeah, you know, and take a tip from me, my friend. And I know you're not this way. I am confrontational. I rarely take a step back, and I rarely speak in moderate tones. But that has worked against me. And your best bet is to somehow figure a way to schmooze them. You know what I mean? I don't know how you're going to do that, but you know. Well, I can tell you something right now. I just sent my particle physics off to 4 of the top physicists in the world. Been talking about dark energy, dark matter, and all that nonsense. And I have the pictures to show them, and no responses. There won't be any response. And I put them all on the same email, just to put them all against the wall. They're all from different universities. But you know about the light work. All right?
Yeah, I was watching a bit of that as well. And how is that connected at all to Mudfossils, or is this a
well, it's because everything is connected to atomic theory. And then, you know, so really there is nothing that we don't do. There's not another thing we don't do. You know, everything does everything. Once you realize that nothing is right, because nothing is right. The atomic structure is wrong. Light isn't understood. Energy isn't understood. Gravity isn't understood. Electricity is not understood. The particle nature of everything, molecular bonding, the nature of the periodic chart, the zones of stability on a periodic chart we call elements are just zones. And then in between each one of those zones, there's thousands of different particles that could exist. And I think the gravity that we are under here makes them specifically stable at these frequencies. And if we were on an extremely heavy planet, we may have a different zone of stability. So iron may be iron plus another 30 extra particles. All kinds of things to think about. But anyway, they won't confront anyone.
Unfortunately, I have to get going, but I really appreciate you taking the time and speaking with me, Roger.
London, I hope that this comes to some fruition, my friend. I am going to probably post this whole thing. I hope you don't. I hope you don't mind, but
no, that's okay.
Okay, all right, brother. I do appreciate this, and I thank you for reaching out to me. This was you have a good future here, my friend, because you are the first one that cared enough to look into something that could be a little bit scary, and it seems it might be a little scary for your career, brother.
All right. Thank you.
I just want you to know, tread lightly somehow, because for me, I don't care. Nobody can ruin my career because I don't have one. So, just telling you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, my friend. Take care.